By the way, Bernie Sanders also beat her in all 22 of the counties in Wisconsin that went from Obama to Trump in the Wisconsin Democratic primary. Well, joining me now is Bernie Sanders, who, by the way, is out with a new book called Our Revolution. Senator Sanders, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good to be with you, Chuck.
Just those county stats alone in Wisconsin and Michigan. The fact of the matter is they're clearly, and I ran into them, there were clearly people that were supporters of you. You were, for some Trump supporters, the second choice. And for some of your supporters, Clinton was not the second choice, and they chose to stay home. Do you think you would have had a better chance at carrying Michigan and Wisconsin if you'd been the Democratic nominee?
Chuck, I don't know that it does a whole lot of good to look backwards. We've got to look forward. We've got to hear what those workers were saying just a few moments ago. And what they were saying is they're sick and tired of seeing their standard of living go down. They're sick and tired of seeing their jobs go to China and other low-wage countries, which means that we have to transform our trade policies and tell corporate America to start investing in this country and not in countries all over the world. It means we've got to raise the minimum wage. It means we need pay equity for women workers. It means to say that we have to create jobs by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. It means to say that we have to make public colleges and universities tuition free. In other words, what all of that is about is the working class of this country for the last 40 years has been decimated, and the rich are getting richer. People are tired of it. They want real change. And I'm going to do everything that I can as part of the new leadership of the Democratic Party to bring about that change.
You know, one of the things that you always hear about is job retraining for folks that are displaced by trade agreements. But I want to play you a quote from the COO of Wyco Metal Products. They're basically an auto parts manufacturer. And he was talking about the problems with some of these retraining programs. Take a listen.
If you've been out on this floor doing skilled or semi-skilled work and you're 40 years old, you don't want to go do a computer-based job. You want to make things.
Essentially, the job retraining programs and some of these younger VOTEC programs, almost too computer-based. He was complaining of a lack of skilled labor, but physical skilled labor.
Well, I think we've got to move forward on all fronts. I think we have to do, not everybody wants to go to college, and that's fine. God knows there are enormous amounts of work out there that don't require a college degree. We've got to give people the training to do that, which is why we have to rebuild our inner cities. We have to rebuild our infrastructure. There's a desperate need for affordable housing in this country. We can put millions of people to work rebuilding this country and so many parts of America, and that is what we have to do. On the other hand, in a highly competitive global economy, we do need the best educated workforce in the world. And that means we have to make public colleges and universities tuition free. And Mr. Trump, by the way, and his billionaire friends are going to have to start paying their fair share of taxes. You
know, Senator Sanders, the Progressive Movement, Democratic Party is having a debate about whether to work with Donald Trump when there is agreement. I want to read for you something that Eric Sasson of the New Republic had to say about this debate. To so many Democrats, any mention of finding common ground with Trump is a step towards accomplishing the exact thing we fear most, normalization. By prematurely offering to work with Trump before he has shown even the slightest bit of contrition, congressional Democrats are hollowing out the argument that they made for months, that he's unfit for office, and that is precisely the argument that needs to be made now more than ever, that it is up to Trump to prove to us that he is able to lead. We shouldn't make it easy for him. Bottom line is this, essentially, do you not work with him until he shows some contrition on some of the social issues?
Look, let us be very clear, Chuck. When Donald Trump helped lead the birther movement, that was nothing less than a racist effort to undermine the legitimacy of the first African-American president we have ever had. That was racist. That was disgraceful. The African-American community and all of us deserve an apology. When he talks about Latinos or Mexicans as criminals and rapists, that is outrageous. When he says that one of the largest religions in the world, Islam, people who are Muslims cannot visit the United States or enter the United States, that is an outrage. On those issues, let me be very clear, speaking only for myself, there is no compromise. We have come too far as a country to try to move forward in a non-discriminatory way, to go backwards and see us divided up by racism or xenophobia. On the other hand, issues like raising the minimum wage. You know, Donald Trump has talked about he is not going to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. He is going to work to reestablish a Glass-Steagall legislation. He wants to rebuild the infrastructure. Those are issues that some of us have been working on for years. And if he wants to work with us on those issues, I accept that.
So you don't accept the premise that you shouldn't work with him under any circumstance?
Right. But I do think the point of that article is right. He has said outrageous things, and he needs to apologize to the American people. But there are people all over this country who are really frightened. But the other thing, Chuck, is climate change. It is beyond comprehension that we have a president-elect who thinks that climate change is a hoax when the whole scientific community is telling us.
Senator, right. But I'm going to go back to this other point. What do you say to the progressives that say, hey, the Republicans essentially united against President Obama, and guess what? It was good politically for the Republican Party. What you're describing is going to be perhaps good for those workers you're talking about, but it may be bad for the Democratic Party. What do you say to those progressives?
Well, I think we need to protect workers. We need a good strategy to make sure that, in fact, we push our agenda. Look, on the issues, Chuck, that I'm talking about, these are the things that I have been fighting for years. But there is no compromise, none whatsoever, on bigotry. There is no compromise on climate change because the future of the planet is at stake. We need a strategy, and I'm going to work on this strategy, to go to Michigan, to go to Wisconsin, to stand with working people, to demand that we reverse the decline of the American middle class.
Senator Sanders, that's all the time I have for today. Thanks for coming on and sharing your views, sir, and congrats on the new book, Our Revolution.
Thank you.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.